Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. This is the show, and I'm going to do it where we get under the hat of all things franchising. And it's a live show where it's live if it's 5:30 on the 24th of March 2026. And because it's live, we love you to get involved. So drop in a comment, say hello, and get involved in our conversations. Because I say each week, you're the producers and directors of this show. So it's fantastic when you get involved and you get involved in our conversations as well. Now, talking of that, what do we do on the franchise show? So each week we have a new topic and we have a lovely guest today, two lovely guests. So before I introduce our guests to you, I want to introduce the topic. And today the topic is franchise marketing fees. Now, we're going to delve a little bit into marketing fees. We're also going to talk of the sort of wider topic of marketing in our franchise businesses. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation. Before we get too deeply into that, let's welcome our two lovely guests. And we'll go ladies first. We have Ria from Cottage. Ria, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Hi, thank you so much. Really glad to be here.
Great to have you with us. And we've got Newton as well. Newton is I've known Newton for quite a long time, a great franchising and marketing expert. And we're going to be looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. Newton, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Thank you for having me, Harvey.
You're absolutely welcome. Great to have you with us. So let's get into this first of all with a couple of introductions. So if you'd just like to sort of say a little bit about yourself and your background and where you're from, and then we'll get into franchise marketing fees. Either of you can go first. Let's go ladies first again.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Ria and I take care of brand marketing at Chicken Cottage. So I've been associated with the brand for almost 2.5 years now. So my role revolves around largely brand and local marketing and taking care of the franchisees as well. So as far as marketing to recruit local franchisees all over the UK and globally, that area also lies under my job description. So yeah, so it's really exciting to be here today and look forward to the conversation.
Fantastic. Great to have you with us. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with both of you. Newton, same for you. Give us a little bit of introduction to yourself and how you've got to be in the wonderful world of franchising and marketing.
Sure. Thanks for having me again, Harvey. So I'm Newton Fernandos and I run Multi Hospitality. It's an international advisory practice specializing in franchising for multi-brand and multi-site businesses across the UK and worldwide. My background is as a global marketing director. I've spent over 18 years navigating the realities of operations for over 6,000 restaurants and hotels across 35 franchise brands and 45 countries. My focus today is to share some actionable insights with the audience here, and how do you bridge the gap between a franchisor's brand vision, often quite expensive, and a franchisee's bottom line profitability.
I think that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to getting into that. I think before we get into things too deeply today, let's welcome a few people who have joined us live already. So we're first of all going to welcome Omar to the show. Omar, it's always fantastic to have you with us. Omar has a fantastic LinkedIn Live called Zoom Party and Do We Really Know, where he interviews people. I encourage you to check out Omar, lovely chap. We have Simon Wise with us, and Simon is a good friend of mine, and he's been a supporter and follower of the show for a long time. So it's always good to have Simon with us. Looking forward to hearing Simon's thoughts on all things marketing and marketing fees. So should be a great conversation. Who else have we got? We've got the lovely Penny Hopkinson. Penny has put, hello, Harvey and all franchise friends. Great to be back as ever. Well, it's always fantastic to have you on the show, Penny. Penny has a fantastic service called Manual Magic AI. Scan the QR code on the screen. You can find out all about it. But she's helping people with their ops manuals. So great service. And she has a lovely book. I don't know where that's gone. I normally like to show that. Oh, there it is. See, it shows it's live, doesn't it? Now, there's her lovely book. Is it the right way round? No, it's not. But if you want to get your ops manuals the right way round, then talk to Penny. Fantastic to have you with us, Penny. Who else have we got? Oh, we have Kelly with us, Kelly Steinecker. Fantastic to have you with us, Kelly. I've known Kelly for a long time. In fact, when I started doing live streaming with a chap called Don Cohen, and that's where I met the lovely Kelly. So it's fantastic to have you with us, Kelly. And she's put good morning, y'all. She's coming from America. So I tried to do an American accent there. We've got Omar who's come back and put Kelly Steinecker, nice to see you, which is fantastic. Simon saying you've got a bit of feedback on audio, maybe guess mute. Yes, we're aware of that. So we're going to take turns in muting when we're not talking. So hopefully that should deal with that. Kelly's come back with Omar M. You too. Fantastic. Look at that. We've got the fantastic Joe Caruso with us. Joe, I've always been a big fan of Joe. He's over in America. And he's doing some fantastic things. If you're looking at doing things in America, I always encourage you to speak to Joe. Now, he always tries to get me to pronounce where he lives and then gives me a score. So this has become quite a tradition, so I'm going to give it a go. He's put hi all from the gentle shores of Herve de Grace, Maryland, along the Susquehanna River at the Chesapeake Bay. At Franchise Info LLC HQ, where franchising solutions are achieved. Oh, look, he's put it in there twice. I'm not doing it twice. You're not getting me like that. Great to have you with us, Joe, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Joe put some really insightful comments actually before this went live, so it'd be great to have you as part of the discussion. We've got a couple more people to welcome, and then we're going to get into this topic a little bit more. Look, Ria, we have your lovely colleague and our friend, Tom Corrigan, who has been a guest on the show. He's put great to see everyone. Well, Tom, it's fantastic to have you with us. Really looking forward to this conversation, and thank you very much for your support. So let's get into this. Let's have a look. We've got a question come up. Let's have a look at this one. When and either of you can answer any of these, but let's read it out first. When should an emerging franchise brand introduce the national marketing levy? From the get-go, on the basis that it is more challenging to introduce later downstream? This is a really interesting question, actually, because a marketing fee needs to give a marketing service of some sort, and obviously at the beginning that's different. It evolves and changes as things go down the line. And what's your take on this? Let's maybe start with Ria.
I think that's a very interesting question, and we get it quite often from our franchisees as well. So I think if we were to levy the marketing fee, so I think as soon as the store starts trading, that's the best time, because that is when the customer adoption is at the maximum. If you lose the customers initially, then 6 months down the line, there's no way you want to get them back, right? So at Chicken Cottage as well, so from the very first month, that's part of the royalty that these guys pay. And we've got a clear structure in place which explains to them, how we are going to utilize the marketing fees. Part of that is spent towards brand marketing, towards national campaigns, and the other half is utilized mostly towards strengthening their presence in the local area as well. So sooner the better. But at Chicken Cottage, we've got this firm practice wherein as soon as the store starts trading, that's when we levy the fees for them.
Yeah, it's a great question, Simon, and thank you so much, Ria, for answering that so concisely. And I think, I think there's a great argument to say it should be there right at the beginning, so that it just sets the precedent that that's what you're paying for,
Yeah.
and people know what it is that they're going to get. And they know their responsibilities, both as a franchisor and a franchisee. What's your take on this one, Newton? In your experiences with marketing, an emerging franchise brand, a new franchise brand, they could potentially, I guess, save a little bit of money for a franchisee by not having that part of it. Or do you think that would cause problems down the line?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Look, I've worked with some of the world's biggest franchise brands, predominantly in the hotel and hospitality space. For example, Marriott International Hotels in EMEA and Wyndham, which is the world's largest franchisor of hotels. What we see when we engage with franchisees, both new to the franchising world and those who are more experienced franchisees, is surprise, and no one likes to be surprised. So when you start off with your contractual agreement, you've identified your brand that you want to work with, and then you set up your franchising agreement. The fees are very clearly articulated at the very, very beginning, because no one likes to be surprised down the line. However, that being said, we have often run into situations where the franchisee has not clearly understood or has not been explained what happens next. So what happens next is, once you have your fee and you're charged a fee from day one of trading, there are additional opportunities for you to expand on that fee through paid services. That could be an add-on into what you're already paying, but the value add must be very, very clearly articulated as you're getting XYZ for your fee, but if you pay an X percentage on top of that, you will get further digital ad. The other sort of fees that we tend to see, again, I've worked with in the QSR field with Subway franchisees as well. It is the cooperative fees that you get. So the co-op that you run in each market. So for example, if you had critical mass in Manchester or Birmingham, and you had more than one or two franchise locations there, and you would come together and pool it as a destination, and share your fees over and above what you're paying to the brand. These are various types of marketing fees that we see can add real value. But at the end of the day, as I've said at the beginning, it's all about surprise, and this is a relationship-based business. If you be clear at the very beginning, know what you're getting yourself into, get the right support if you're not sure what the marketing fee is, so you are not surprised and you're not disappointed as a franchisee down the line, leading to issues.
Absolutely, completely agree. Let's say hello to a few more people, and we've got some other questions coming up. So let's see who else is here. We've got Coach Carrie Willis with us, saying hello from Indiana. Fantastic to have you with us. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on franchise marketing fees. So please pop in a question and get your opinion onto the show. We're looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks about it. So we've got David Paulson with us. He's got so many stars. I saw David at a franchise event fairly recently. So it was great to see him in person, and fantastic to have you on the show with us. So looking forward absolutely to getting your thoughts, David, on franchise marketing fees, and what they're about, and where we should be tweaking those. But look, I think that both Ria and Newton have made some really interesting points that have come together here. No surprises, franchisees understanding exactly what they're going to get. I think that already, right at the beginning of the conversation, there's a clear message there that whatever you do as a franchisor in terms of your marketing fees, just make sure it's clearly communicated to a potential franchisee so that they understand what they're getting for that marketing. We've got some great questions coming up, actually, but let's make sure that we get all of these comments and welcome everybody that's here. He's marked me down a little bit on my pronunciation here. He's put score down a bit. I like the fact that he's misspelt pronunciation, but excellent. Always good to have you with us, Joe. We've got a couple of really good questions coming up from Tom Corrigan. So let's pop these up because I think these are really good, really relevant. So Tom's put, what happens when a franchisee says, I'm paying for marketing, what am I getting for it? I think this is a great question, actually, because it's very commonplace. Newton said there about surprises, and that surprise might be a franchisee was expecting a national television campaign for his 1%. I mean, it's an extreme version there, but again, if this question is asked, what do you say, Ria? Or is it about getting things right at the beginning, and they probably won't ask this question? It's
I
great.
think, yeah, it's a great question. And Newton rightly mentioned, it's very important to get that communication piece right. So at Chicken Cottage, what we've tried to do with each new store, we've refined that process because, when you're paying for something, you really want to find the loopholes and say you said that you're going to provide the artwork, but you never said that it's going to limit to 5 artworks per month. You said that there'll be a TV campaign, but you never said that it's going to limit to 10 seconds of our mention. So, so we've done that, been there. Now we've refined the communication to an extent that it's very well defined, the categories that we are mentioning out there when it comes to local marketing extent, etc. So what we've done at Chicken Cottage is that we've given each head due importance when it comes to, say, performance marketing, when it comes to TV campaigns, when it comes to offers on the delivery aggregators, given the contribution of a store in the overall sales profile. For example, on Uber Eats, that is what is the total percentage we'll attribute towards the end of the month. So we've run numbers, we've run calculations, and we always ensure that we give them something in proportion to what they are paying us. So as far as the answering the questions of the franchisees are concerned, so we ensure that also with regard to communication of what is included, there's adequate reporting that follows towards the end of the month, just so that they're aware these are all the activities and initiatives that the head office has undertaken on our behalf. Because most of the stuff that goes unaccounted for, right? Because if we talk about Chicken Cottage, we've got a bespoke Chicken Cottage app, which not all the brands have. So there's quite a lot that goes into ensuring that the retention of customers on the app is highest. The average order value on the app is higher than all the other aggregators. So as far as tweaking marketing tactics towards the Chicken Cottage app is concerned, so we ensure that relevant comms at the start of the month versus at the end of the month with regard to what we wanted to achieve versus what we've achieved. It's all communicated, just so that there's no gray area in the communication piece that franchisees get to ask us quite often.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think reporting on this is really relevant and important.
Yeah.
This is at the beginning. You're saying this is what we're going to do, and then you say this is what we've done, and this is the result of it. And communication again. Newton, what's your thought on this? Over the years in marketing with hotels, you must have come across the questioning around that marketing piece and the true value for it.
I mean, Tom, this is the £1 million question, and for some of our guests on the show, it's $1 million question. Even look, I've sat in these rooms with the angry franchisee and a franchisor trying to pacify the franchisee, and I've been on the franchisor's end, and as an advisor, I've been on the franchisee's end. It all boils down to what people understand marketing to be. Everyone, it's a running joke in the marketing world that everyone considers themselves a marketeer. You come up with a presentation, a PowerPoint slide. It's called the coloring in department sometimes, but marketing is a very, very specialist function. You've got brand, digital, social, PR, events. It's not a function that can easily be quantified and directly attributed to where you've spent the fee and the money and what your returns are. It may well be that in the world of marketing, you have digital where you can, as a franchisor, we can give you all of the fancy numbers. And I would take that reporting that Ria has mentioned, I would take it a level further. I would say that as a franchisor, it's our responsibility to explain things to a franchisee who is a business owner, who's got a P&L to run, in a non-marketing manner. If I go to a franchisee and I talk about number of clicks on my social media or number of likes on my Instagram, I'm going to lose this person immediately. So yes, we need to do the reporting, but we need to translate marketing into what business language actually means. How much was the revenue that I got? How much was the revenue that I would have gotten on my own? Where are the gaps? How many loyal members did I get in my app? These are the numbers that actually make people stand up, pay attention, and say, okay, this is what my marketing fee has gotten me. Because otherwise, we're not discussing ROI, which is return on investment. We go around in circles discussing ROE, which is return on ego, because I've signed up with a big global brand and I've got this big newspaper ad, and I can take this newspaper and I can show it to my friends and say I'm part of this franchise brand, but that hasn't translated into revenue and in the bank.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I think the language that you put these things into when you put it across is key, and it's part of what Ria said about that communication piece. If you don't talk the right language with a franchisee, then they're not going to respond to what it is you're saying. A great point, great question.
Yeah. And also just to add there, I think it's very important that, marketing works hand in hand with the operations team as well. For example, like with regard to Chicken Cottage success, both the marketing and operations talk the same language, same numbers, same tones. So just to communicate the same message, we have multiple touch points, whether we are sending an email, whether the report has been sent on WhatsApp, or the FBMs are visiting the stores. We ensure that, we communicate the impact multiple times, just so that it's very well received. Because just to think about someone sitting on a desk, it's very easy to say that, they'll not miss the message. But for someone who's in a busy kitchen, or who's attending to the customers, who's managing 5 outlets in one day, it's very easy for them to, just miss something which we might perceive as very important.
Yeah.
So as a team, it's important that we stress enough on what we are delivering and what is important for the franchisee, given what they are paying towards the end of the month.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We've got some great questions coming up from Joe Caruso, another one from Tom. Want to welcome Kath Cooper as well to the show. We've got a question coming up from Kath as well. Let's have a look. In fact, let's go to Kath's question, see what this one is. First of all, Kath, welcome to the Franchise Show. Fantastic to have you with us. Thanks for popping in a question, getting involved, and let's have a little look. Kath has put, some franchisors now charge all-in-one fees, no separate marketing fee. So they can decide how funds are spent, and franchisees are encouraged or required to spend a certain amount on their own local marketing. What do we think? This is a great question, actually, and there's a couple of points in this as well. The first point I want to address is, should the marketing fee be separate or should it be part of the royalties? And the second part of a great question, Kath, is about franchisees spending additional money because they want to do some extra marketing. What do we think of this one? Let's go to let's go to Ria first. Come on, let's go to ladies first again, of course.
Not always. So I think here, so this is like a similar challenge that we faced at Chicken Cottage as well. Because if you talk about definitive numbers, some of the franchisees used to come back to us saying that this is the amount I've paid you for the month of March, and can you just detail out where have you spent it? So I think it's very difficult because each month of the year is not the same. For example, this last month we had Ramadan. That's going to be very different, the spending, the channels of marketing, the communication piece, etc. So each month is not similar. So just to attribute figures and reporting on defined digits, it's not very sane. So I think charging that as a, as a overall integrated amount of royalty, that works better. But to also sideline the item that you have to attribute some percentage towards local spend, which is important. Because what we are doing now as a revision is that we are charging annually instead of monthly exercise as a monthly percentage, because to give the numbers and to give the bifurcation each month, it just doesn't add up. But if we are looking at a quarter, spending versus the results that we've obtained, or we are looking at the annual spend, so then it makes much more sense, and it's a larger and elaborate marketing mix that we are able to achieve. So, given what we've achieved at Chicken Cottage, so we generally practice charging a wholesome amount, but also adding to the fact that local marketing, your local success lies in your own hands. We can market the brand on national TV, but the execution, if it doesn't come from you, it'll not work, right? What we are showcasing or aspiring the customers to get in the shops, you need to deliver that as well. So there's always an expectation that we ensure that the franchisees understand there's a minimum spend that has to come from the franchisees to make national campaigns a grand success. And we support them with the planning, we support them with getting better deals, with getting more economies of scale when it comes to, say, for example, a billboard campaign. But in addition to the national budget, we also have a lot of local budget that is set aside for most of the stores.
Fantastic. What do you make of this one, Newton? In your experience, have most of the brands you've worked with incorporated a marketing fee within the royalties, or has that been a separate marketing charge as a percentage, as a marketing fee?
I believe it's a very touchy topic and a very touchy subject, but Kath, it is coming at a great time, because when we discuss separate marketing fees, what we see at multi-hospitality is addition of another complexity called loyalty, which has its own fee. So where you can have your all-in-one fees and you can roll everything up into one fee, loyalty, as an example, is branching off into its own sort of business, as it were, within the franchisor space, and that commands its own fees. So you're not only having to deal with your marketing fee, you're not having to deal with potentially a loyalty fee, you're going to have to deal with local marketing fees. No matter how many toolkits I give you, no matter how many budget guidelines I give you on how you're going to spend your marketing, etc., you're still going to go off and spend £20,000 on an Instagram ad because someone said that that's a great idea and you got your 20 likes. And then that's money that could have gone into your Google AdWords. It could have gone into AI. So I think we can discuss where money is being ring fenced or not, but there has to be a very clear delineation between what's being spent centrally with these big TV ads and campaigns, but the reality on the ground with the franchise owner is completely different, and there needs to be that education piece, and that's a franchisor's job as much as it is a franchisee's job. But yeah, I think loyalty and other elements coming up with AI and ChatGPT and Gemini, this is going to be a very, very tricky subject, and there is no clear answer. But some brands can do it because of where they are and what type of franchising part of the industry they are in. But for some, for example, in hotels, that's a very tricky topic to be able to navigate.
But great question, Kath. Thanks so much for bringing that up. We've got questions coming up from Joe Caruso, from Simon Wise, from Tom, and let's welcome Stuart Gurman to the show. Stuart is one of our lovely supporters and is logging in tomorrow morning all the way from New Zealand. So we got people in America where it's this morning, and we got people that it's tomorrow. Great to have you with us, Stuart. I hope that you are doing well. And as you can see, so far our tech issues are okay, and we're 28 minutes into the episode, so all good stuff. Fantastic to have you with us. Let's have a look at a question here from Joe Caruso. Let's go for the latest one that he's put up here, which is this one. He's put, Simon Wise, in North America, many franchisor brands have franchise advisory councils, and some have a franchise marketing committee for DMA-based coupes and run a co-op to co-op. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think these sort of peer groups are an interesting thing. I just want to quickly go to Simon's question first, because it related back to that. Who controls the spend? The franchisor, or should there be a marketing committee made up of franchisees too? Great. Well, look, let's deal with these two questions at the same time. So this is a question on, should we have a committee made up of various parties to help decide where that marketing spend sits? You know, should we have something like an advisory council or a marketing committee? Always go to Ria first. Let's go to Newton first this time. Give Ria a break.
Sure. I mean, Simon and Joe, yes, you have your franchise advisory councils, and you've got your mini committees and subcommittees. It all gets very bureaucratic at some point, but this is absolutely the foundation of the relationship. If coming from global brands and also the clients that we have, just working with Accor on hotels on a massive franchise project to reposition their brands globally as well, there is a desire for these franchisors to have the vanity metrics, the TV ads, the big glamorous brand marketing activity that your fee pays for if you're a franchisee. So on the global ivory tower, you have these franchisors spending money on very dramatic ad campaigns and events, etc. But you, as a franchisee, you are struggling to close off your books for the end of the month, and you're saying, where is that actually impacting my bottom line? So there's a fundamental tension here. So where legally, absolutely, the franchisor, the brand, holds the keys to the money, in reality it should be with the franchisee. Otherwise the relationship fundamentally is broken, and the franchisee will be unhappy and go somewhere else because they don't have a say. They don't have the steering wheel. They've just given their money to the bank. So I think this is again all about relationships, but also being very clearly ring fence between what the brand is going to pay and what you as a franchisee are going to pay. But absolutely the franchisee must have a say in some form or the other.
Fantastic. Yeah, Ria, what do you make of this one? Have you ever been involved, or do you ever get any kind of councils or groups sort of, can franchisees contribute towards where the money is spent on marketing? Or is it something that you as a brand sort of decide, well, look, we're going to make a good decision, save you as franchisees having to be able to do that, and we'll look after that for you? Which way do you tend to go?
So at Chicken Cottage, we follow a very democratic process wherein, we've created this franchisee advisory forum. So being a 30 plus year old brand, so we've got some franchisees who've been part of the brand for 30 years, and then the others who've just come to us and who've been with the other competitors, global brands. So there's so much to learn from each other. So what we've done is we've created a franchisee advisory forum wherein we have a set of, I think, 6 different franchisees who represent each section of the, like, some represent London stores, the others represent Middleton stores, the other represent Scottish stores. So we've created this forum wherein, we have these monthly discussions wherein we present the plan. This is what the head office aims to do, like, for rest of the month. We get pre-approvals for the stuff that we intend to do for the entire quarter. But it's more like a two-way process wherein we showcase stuff that's planned, the results that's been achieved. And also I think it's a great platform because we get to hear from them what their thoughts are. Like, these are the in-person sessions which are conducted by myself and the head of operations. So it's not that there's no error in communication, there's no piece that gets miscommunicated, because it's just all, everything's happening in person. And also it also gives us enough time to buy, more patience from them. For example, in the last session, a lot of them said that, we are not very happy with the product images, let's get a new product shoot done. And this is something we've recently changed, right? So we can't keep doing this again and again. So we had the platform to speak to them face to face and say, hey, this is scheduled for second half of the year and it'll be dealt with, but this is not a priority at the minute. If you speak about something like this, I'm delaying what's important to you, it's going to raise concerns, right? But if you're together in person, you're talking about other priorities for the month and parking something for the latter part of the year, it gets very well received. So at Chicken Cottage, it's a regular affair that we speak to them, we take their considerations, we do a lot of polls, we do a lot of webinars and chatting sessions wherein we hear from them. And it's not that everything gets everything gets executed. But for a fact, we know that even if we don't execute 100%, we are still 80% there, because their success is what that matters, and they should be satisfied with us. So that is one reason our franchisees stick with us for almost like 3 decades now. So that's worked in our favor. So we are very democratic. We have committees which work towards a common goal, just to ensure that the franchisee and franchisor are always on the same page.
Amazing, amazing. If you have just joined us today, this is the Franchise Show, and today we are talking about franchise marketing fees. It's been a fantastic conversation so far with Ria and Newton, and we've really got some amazing questions coming in from our audience live today. So if you are here, pop in a question. We've got lots of questions still to go, and probably only about 10 minutes to get through them. So we're going to get straight on with that right now. Let's have a look at Tom's question, because I like it starting with the word big question as well. Tom's put, big question. How do you quantify that marketing is working for the franchisees? Sales, guest count, AOV, new franchisees. What does great look like, and who decides that? It's a fantastic question. Because Ria's just been speaking, let's go to Newton first. In your experiences when you've been doing marketing for these fantastic hotel brands that you're talking about, how do you've already said that quantifying it's difficult, and it really is difficult to quantify it. Are there any good tips in terms of how you can set something up so that you can see some sort of return on that? We spoke a little bit about that, but let's get a bit more into it. What sort of things do you normally do to field this type of question?
Absolutely, Tom. That's again the $1 million question wherever you are.
I wish we were getting paid per question here.
But really, yes, it boils down to franchising in general. It's more than the brand, it's the money that comes into your account, it's the revenue. So we have found, especially working with Marriott and Wyndham and Accor and these big global giants as an operator, I need to lead with the revenue, as I've mentioned, the loyalty, some of the key metrics that will help me understand that the financial health of the franchise that I am running locally in my territory as well. It has to be absolutely boiled down into sales. It has to also boil down into the operational side of the franchising relationship as well. How the net promoter score, how our guests feeling about staying in the property. What is the feedback coming in our world from TripAdvisor, from online travel agents such as Booking.com, etc. It's an aggregation of all of these data points that ultimately need to feed into a centralized dashboard. Now, in previous roles in Marriott, etc., we have developed a very simple one-page dashboard that explains to a franchisee what exactly is coming into each of these buckets that I've mentioned. And this is something that is used year on year as a baseline, year to date, and it gives the franchisee an opportunity to understand what's been the trend in the performance of these numbers upwards. Again, like I said previously, the best numbers that are always made the quarterly business reviews a bit less dramatic on both sides was the revenue, the loyalty, and other key metrics that the operations people could understand, that the sales people could understand, and the revenue people would understand. The minute we started talking about Instagram and YouTube, we lost the audience. So I would again come back to the financial metrics that really makes marketing play a very central role in your commercial engine. Otherwise, it's always just seen as a cost center.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at a question here from Stuart. Stuart's put, in the UK, do all franchisors who charge a franchisee marketing fee keep those fees separate in a separate bank account, which is like a trust account? It's interesting. I mean, any revenue that comes into a business is not normally separated out and then spent on that particular thing. I don't know the answer to this. Ria, is all of your fees, I assume, they all come into the same pot, and you have an allocation and a spending of marketing that comes out of the same sort of pot?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is also treated as income of the franchisor in a way, but also they are these scheduled activities wherein this is attributed to. So all of this is part of the same bank account. It is not necessarily like a retainer income or something else. So this is not meant to be invested for the head office or maybe the franchisors income per se, but this is very well received to be spent on activities like regular daily and monthly activities. So it's not in a separate bank account for us at least.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's have a look here at one from Simon. We've got so many comments coming in now. This is clearly a conversation that's resonating with our audience, and I'm trying my best to get round to these. Simon's put, should the marketing fee be allocated to the to franchise recruitment, franchisee recruitment marketing? That's a very interesting one. Because of course that's one franchisee effectively paying for the marketing to get other franchisees to the business, but then as an organization grows, is it an argument to say that then supports that that franchisee eventually? I mean, I wouldn't have thought it would. What's your thoughts on this one, Newton?
Simon, you're making me smile because I set up franchise recruitment marketing strategies across the UKI and EMEA. Previously, I would have said absolutely not, categorically not. However, with master franchisees coming on board, with the expansion of the brands in that direction from a franchisor's perspective, there is something there where I can see the value in the question that you're asking. But primarily, the marketing fee that a franchisee is paying is for consumer marketing. It is to make sure that guests are coming through the doors, that guests are booking through loyalty, through brand.com, or through whatever channel that the marketing fee is supposed to be paying for. We should not be charging the franchisees the fees for that LinkedIn ad for the brand to get more franchisees on board. That is not the job of the marketing fee. For a fee that's already quite misunderstood, and looking at the amount of questions coming in on the chat today, this is clearly a very important topic to be understood. This, again, it comes down to the trust between franchisor and franchisee. But franchisee recruitment marketing, absolutely not. There's a separate pot for it. There's a separate budget for it, and it serves a completely different purpose from a franchisor and brand's perspective, and it's not the franchisee's interest. But again, I caveat that if there are other discussions such as master franchising, which would be a whole other topic to discuss.
Ria, what's your thoughts on this one?
I think this sounds unethical, but there are a lot of crossovers wherein, when you're participating at an expo, which is a B2B expo, maybe the objective of participation could be to recruit more franchisees, but also at the same time, there's a food fair which is happening adjacent to that event, which might result in a lot of customers as well getting more visibility of your brand. So I think wherever there's a crossover with the objectives, then it is fine to utilize it. But essentially, the franchisee recruitment marketing budget should come from royalties as against marketing fees that the franchisees are paying to get more customers, more footfall into the stores. Unless and until there's a clear crossover, this should not happen because, as Newton rightly mentioned, there's so many questions around how you are utilizing the fees. And if it is not attributed to the right sources, I think then it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've got about a minute left, so I think we can pick out one question. What I am going to quickly say is it's great to have Coach Carrie Willis with us. One of the reasons I haven't put up your comments, I'll briefly put it up, but Coach Carrie is talking about retirement planning, and this is going to be a subject that we're going to have on the franchise show in coming weeks. So Coach Carrie, hold those thoughts because we're going to be talking about wills in a future episode. And thank you so much for being with us today. Let's bring up a couple from Joe here and see if we can deal with these in a minute or two. Joe's put, since the US has a franchise disclosure document compliance standard that are publicly available, everyone can see each other's national and local advertising contributions and how they change contractually. Yeah, look, this is we're not regulated in the same way here in the UK. So it's down to us as franchisors to do exactly what both Newton and Ria have been saying today, which really comes down to transparency, communication, making sure that people can see what your national and local advertising contributions are. Yes, it's not available in such a public way that you could do such an easy comparison. But if you're a franchisee listening to this and you're thinking about this as a subject and you're talking to franchisors, ask them, just ask them, how much is the fee? What sort of things do you get for that fee? And then when you're looking at alternatives, you can see which one suits you better. We will finish on this and we'll see if we can get to this question. Again, what's your thoughts on this one, Ria? I mean, again, it's that transparency, isn't it? Just telling your franchisees what you're doing.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. Well, look, we have come actually. We could probably go on today for about another hour and a half with the questions that have come in. But we've come to the end of the first part of today's show. So I think what it's proved is we're going to have this conversation again on the franchise show, I think, because it resonates. It's something that we need to talk about. What I will say is both Ria and Newton can look at the comments on LinkedIn and the conversation can continue off the live show via the comments. But we're definitely going to do this one again. So we have come to the end of the first part of today's show. So thank you for joining in our conversations today. It's been fantastic. We are now coming to the part of the show where I will be switching hats. Now you can't see me doing this because of course it's now illegal to not see me wearing a hat of some sort. But I now have this beauty on. And this was, of course, brought to you by PJ Murphy and Son Bespoke British Hatters. And it's my friend Paul Murphy. So if you would like a hat like this, reach out to Paul. Now, this is the fun part of the show where we stop talking about franchise marketing for a little bit and we find out a little bit about our guests. And they can also get their own back on me. So we're going to ask both Ria and Newton a nice, simple, fun little question. Have you met someone famous and what was that like? Or have you got a claim to fame or an interesting hobby? You can choose either of those. We'll let Newton go first and Ria can have a think.
Have I met somebody famous? Okay. All of the CEOs of my franchise brands that I've ever worked for are all famous and they're all on the television. But I'm also, what people don't know is that I'm also a former civil servant for the United Kingdom government, and I worked for Visit London. The mayor of London is Sadiq Khan. He's frequently on the television, and he has certain conversations with certain leading world figures. So he certainly is a very famous person that I would imagine. But yeah, a famous person, not necessarily a franchise or a franchisee, but somebody you might see on the telly.
Perfect. Brilliant. And Ria, have you got a story of when you once met someone famous?
So I've met quite a lot of Indian celebrities in the UK chilling and partying here, but also recently last year we had a couple of chicken shop dates being shot at the chicken cottage stores. So that's when we met quite a lot of celebrities from the reality shows and the film worlds and singers. It was really like nice, and that is when you start loving your job all the more because it's unexpected, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, look, I said that you could get your own back on me as well. You've been answering these questions beautifully and I've had to sit here just reading them out. So this is your chance to get your own back on me and you can ask me any question you like. And this is going to go to both of you. I'm going to get this at me twice. And I genuinely don't know what you're going to ask. So this is your chance.
I'll go first as always.
Okay.
So I think so. I've seen you like so actively engaging with the franchise world, whether it's events, whether it's like a bespoke visit to the store openings. You've been very, very engaged with the entire franchising network. Apart from this, what is it that excites you out of the franchising QSR conversation? Is there
That's
something which
It's a great
gets you
question.
passionate
I mean,
about?
QSR and food has always been my passion. I studied to be a chef. Sorry, my laptop is running out of charge. You can tell this is live. I studied to be a chef. So QSR has always been a big passion of mine. And look, franchising, I haven't, despite doing this and people knowing me for doing this, I haven't been in the franchise industry for a huge amount of time. I'm always learning, but it's unique, franchising. It's really unique. And it's something that many people have said this, that once you're in the franchising industry, it's somewhere that you want to stay. I think that there's a feeling of support within the franchise industry, even between competitors. I think that there's a feeling of support. There's a feeling of wanting to get it right. And this show was always about adding value, having these conversations, and learning. So I think that that's what drives me. It's that support between everyone within the industry. I love it. Newton, you can get your own back on me as well and ask me a question, or you can let me get away with it. It's up to you.
Well, you beat me to it, Simon. I was going to ask about the coffee. How did you guess? Tell us about your hat. And I know that you've probably discussed this a few times on some of these shows, but
Sure.
Remind us all of the story of your
story of the hat. Why I wear a hat. Okay, well, when I first got into LinkedIn, I met a chap called Don Cohen. And Don Cohen, I mentioned him earlier, actually, a legend. He did a LinkedIn Live every day for 700 days, every day for an hour. And I saw his show. I loved it. It was about mindset. I made a comment, just like everyone's making a comment here. And what was different about it is he brought the comment up. I felt part of the show. Anyway, he invited me to be a guest. I was a guest 2 or 3 times. Then I became a regular guest, but he wore a hat. Okay. And I thought, maybe I should buy a hat. And that's as much thought as I gave to it at that point. I then did about 60 episodes of this with Don. And when I decided to launch the franchise show, I was already wearing a hat doing this. And I thought, well, I'll continue doing it. And what happened is people then just got to know me, that I was the person that wore the hat and talked about franchising. So I either thought, well, I'll stop wearing it, or I'll fully embrace it. And you can guess which way I went on that. But that's the story of the hat. And look, I think at the beginning, I wasn't naturally comfortable doing this. And there was something about, I don't know, putting a hat on, and it felt like a protection or something like that, like maybe a character at the beginning. But yes, the hat now stays, and I can't go anywhere wearing it. People don't even know if I've got any hair under it. In fact, Simon's put there, he is bald. You never know. I might just have hair in these bits. Fantastic. Well, look, it's been an amazing episode, and we have stayed live on LinkedIn. Yes. For 53 minutes. So that's all good stuff. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who has been here live. You are really what makes this show special. And it's fantastic to have you with us, driving this conversation. I said it at the beginning, you're the producers and directors of this show. So a big thank you from me for being involved. And I'd love to thank our amazing guests, Ria and Newton. Thank you both for being part of the franchise show today.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to be here.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Absolutely welcome, and thank you. So we're now going to end, but it leaves me just to say what's going to happen next week, which is, I think, the 31st of March, next week on the franchise show. We are going to be talking about the wrong franchise people and making sure you get the right franchise people in all aspects of your business. That's going to be with the lovely Nick Plevin. That's going to be back at the usual time of 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. So until next time, take very good care. Cheerio.